when we have everything in our lives that looks perfect, when our lives actually are perfect by our standards. Like we think that they're perfect, but when somebody can't feel the enjoyment or happiness from that, that's a really, really difficult, strange, confusing, isolating issue.
Welcome to GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, aka the Going North Podcast. I'm your host, best-selling author, and certified self-leadership trainer with the John Maxwell team, Dom Brightman. And this is the podcast where authors from around the world help you realize that success is tangible. You'll leave with at least one new tip of inspiration or information or even motivation every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. Now let's get on with the show. Before today's episode starts, we got another review to highlight, and this one is from Dr. Lynn Morrell, and she left a 5-star review titled, "Dom is a terrific podcast host. I love Dom's expertise at pulling the best out of his guests. The shows are entertaining as well as inspiring. I learn something every time I tune in." Thanks, Dr. Lynn, for leaving that review about what you like about the show. And if you like something about the podcast, let us know via Apple Podcasts or the website, goingnorthpodcast.com, and we'll highlight it on a future episode so other folks can enjoy what we have to offer here. And speaking of what we have to offer here, we got some super special, awesome content. Now let's get on with today's episode. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as the Going North Podcast, we got another super special, awesome human for you. You're going to be in for a treat that's good enough to eat 10 times over. Indeed, that's right, need 10 times over. It's going to be a decade of eating, y'all, because today's wonderful guests, oh my goodness, like this, what, like, dude, I probably need like 5 minutes for the introduction to this wonderful guest right here, because my goodness, we probably met, man, I guess at the time of this recording, probably 3.5 years ago. Yeah, right during the pandemic where we were trapped in homes and computers became your best friend if you're already in the online space. And we just connected. I'm like, oh, wow, she followed my thing. And I'm like, all right, let me follow her thing. She's freaking great. She doesn't have a book, but hey, I like what she's doing indeed. Now she's finally joined the business of immortality because today's wonderful guest, y'all, she is a wolf. I know I can speak today. She's a wonderful wife as well as a decorated performance coach, U.S. Air Force veteran, a certified clinical hypnotherapist, and the founder, y'all. She found something. She's the founder of Palladium Mind Incorporated. So let's give it up for the marvelous, beautiful, and soon to be legendary Mandy Barbee Lanier. How you doing today, Mandy?
Oh my gosh, I'm so good, Dom. It's so great to be here.
It's great to have you here too. That's right, dude. You finally did it. You're in the business of immortality. It finally happened. She's found the 10 Commandments. And she's sexier than Moses. She doesn't have a beard. Oh, stop it, man.
I know. I didn't even know what to say after that introduction because I was I was brought back all the way to when we were first meeting and that first exchange. And I was like, I love this guy's energy. Like, I didn't know you from anybody, but it was just, I mean, I've never had like a large following. I don't use my voice in that way. Like, I really like to put my nose down. I see myself as an operator. I'm ex-military. I'm an economics major, double major. Like, I like to do the work with people. And so I haven't, it's not my most natural like inclination to go and constantly be in front of a camera or talking, but I do think and reflect and share thoughts like in a written format a lot. And back then, I had not even conceived of writing a book yet. I did have a podcast, but it was also a very different form of podcast. That podcast still exists out on the webs. It's called Calm, Confident, and Deliriously Happy. Who doesn't want to feel and be calm, confident, and deliriously happy? And I do use my voice a lot with my work. But back then, and still to this day, my like following was very small. And so when somebody like who I didn't know. I can't remember who reached out to who first, but when you like followed my business on Facebook and it was like multiple places at once, it just so jumped out at me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this person was doing his own thing in the world. He just followed me. And I was like, love what you're about. Let's be friends. And I don't know, I probably suggested like maybe I could be on your podcast or you be on my and you were like, well, my podcast is for authors, Mandy. So I was like, maybe someday. And I was just kind of like, I mean, we hadn't caught up in 2024 yet. And it's been a while. And I don't really think we did anything. I think we changed a couple Facebook messages like, hi, how are you? Thinking of you. Hope you're doing great. Miss you or something on Facebook Messenger. But we didn't have like a catch up call in 2023. And we were talking about you were very busy in 2023. I was very busy in 2023, just doing very different things from like the norm of what we've been doing for years. And all of a sudden, like it's January, my book is about to come out. And I was like, why haven't I caught up with Dom? I haven't spoken to Dom in forever. So it's just a full circle moment. Super exciting to be guest on your thank you for hosting me. And it's just been really cool to watch you build and the consistency. You really created like a center of gravity for so many. I mean, it's very obvious, besides just the sheer magnitude of number of episodes and the years you've been doing this, you really have generated like this type of gravity for authors. And people come to you and find you because they know that you can like help them amplify. So I've seen that for so many years, and it's cool to watch after all this time has gone by. I'm really, really happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
My pleasure indeed. My pleasure indeed. Because I'm like, yep, yep, like she does great work. I'm like, yep, she ain't got a book, but I'm following her. I like all this content she's got indeed. That's right, indeed.
What
That's
stood
right.
out? Let me ask you this. I mean, I know that there's a feeling that probably comes with from back then, because even if you don't remember what I said or did, like, what was it that you liked about it? What did it give you a feeling of, whatever it was that you saw?
Well, of course, Joy, that pretty smile of yours. I'm like, shoot, why would I not be like drawn into this? Like, oh, she's happy. This is freaking great. All right. Oh, Palladium Mind. I'm like, dude, Palladium. Like, that's like the highest degree of metal, if I'm not mistaken. What is that? Like the most valuable metal, even more valuable than gold, right?
It's really funny that you know that, because I don't know how valuable, like I don't know where it sits on the like the most valuable versus second most, but what's really interesting about palladium is it's the most malleable, it's lustrous, it's highly catalytic. That's why it's often used in electronics, and it is very, very valuable and precious. So what I liked, I literally chose the name for the company based on the word, the power and the sound of the word as you speak it. Like I saw that word somewhere, and it was actually the word Palladian. There's a hotel called Palladian Hotel in Seattle, and I was driving by it, and I was like, what a beautiful word. What a beautiful sound when you say it. And I was thinking about names for the company and my second company. I was like, well, what does that mean? And Palladian actually means like an armor or something. But I was like, oh, there's palladium. It's the same thing, really. It's just a completely different meaning. And it's a metal on the periodic table. When I looked up what palladium means, I was like, oh, this was so intended. This was meant to be, because it creates like it creates transformation and transfer of energy. So lustrous, precious, beautiful, lightweight, malleable, flexible, catalytic. I was like, that's a great name. Let's go with that.
Heck yeah, indeed. It's a great name and a powerful name too. I'm like, sure, that's freaking amazing. That's what I'm
Well,
talking about. Indeed.
thanks for the compliment on my smile too. When you said the word joy, I was like, you know what? That is so a part of my purpose. So it's extremely cool that that just jumped out at you from seeing like an image of me. I really appreciate that.
Heck yeah, indeed. You've been growing over the years in your practice and then your business website's even more fabulous than before. So my goodness, as with all introductions, this is probably the first time folks are probably hearing you at least on this podcast anyway. And I'm pretty sure I forgot a whole bunch of things. Mind giving us a little backstory how you became the
Sure.
marvelous Mandy that you are today?
I would love to. Yeah, context is really important to me too. I feel like people can understand me through my context like really well. Not just like the storyline, but really where I came from. I'm the oldest of five daughters. So number one, the oldest or the quote biggest, as people sometimes say. I'm like, well, that's not really true. Like there might be some of my sisters might be taller, but I went into the Air Force when I was 17. I went to the Air Force Academy. I was the first person in my college, in my family, my immediate family, to complete college. That was a huge accomplishment for both my parents to help me get into. That was a huge objective of theirs to make sure I had those, not options, but like opportunities. And left the house at 17, graduated with honors, went on to Langley Air Force Base where I was an aircraft maintenance officer. And I chose that career field. I got my first pick because I graduated like I was really high up in my class. And in aircraft maintenance, you have the ability to lead teams or collaboratively lead teams with your senior non-commissioned officers as a team that are bigger than any other groups of people in the Air Force, like besides maybe security forces. So I chose Langley Air Force Base because it's home of the first fighter wing and the F-22s were there, which were just becoming operational at the time. So this was a massive, massive challenge. Back then, I was a huge people pleaser. And I wouldn't have said that because I did have like a little attitude, like I did have a little personality and a little sass, but I just, I think I really, really relied on to have a sense of security, how other people felt about me. So I was infinitely flexible and, adaptive to meet what my perceived expectations from others were so that I could like feel safe and fit in. And I did this really well for a very long time. Like I was a master at it. I outperformed at everything that I did. Working on the flight line at Langley is super, super intense. Like one piece of debris can damage a multi-million dollar engine, take an aircraft out of commission. Um, we manage billions of dollars worth of equipment, and thousands of different people's lives were affected, et cetera, as well as pilots. So, like, that was a huge formative experience in my life. And when I got out of the military, I went from one corporate industry to another. So, in 6 or 7 years, I worked in four different commercial industries in leadership positions. So, I didn't really understand this until last year. I didn't have a frame of reference for like why my professional life was this way because I've been doing today, I still continue to own and operate the company Palladium Mind, which I actually incorporated in 2015. And it was under a different name at the time, but we've been operating since 2016 and we do transformation work with people. So I have been trained, educated, experienced, and practiced. It's one of my greatest interests and my greatest natural skill sets is to help people make change occur. So I facilitate that with others. I don't do anything to them that makes change occur, but I can't like hit somebody on the forehead. It's not like that. All real lasting change that occurs in our lives that we create in our experience is self-created by the individual. But it's far easier to take that journey in a way that's like comfortable, predictable, one that you can be confident in if you're guided by somebody who's helped others make the same transformations happen. And what's really unique about me and our business and my business is that the scope of practice of things that are in bounds for me to support people with is almost really unbounded. So I can help people with trauma and we can utilize tools that are other than just conversation. Because sometimes utilizing conversation, which is a rational process or a conscious thought process, doesn't change unconscious, emotional, feeling, non rational problems. And I think we've all experienced this. We're like, I know what needs to change. I understand this isn't working. Why can't I change? And it's because we're not utilizing the right tools and the right methods for making that type of change. And so this really, I have been facilitating personal transformations with people for going on 8 years. It'll be 8 years in March. We've been working the same plays, running the same plays, helping people with the same type of transformation for these 8 years. So we've really perfected this specific type of transformation to help people through the cresting, most imminent core issue that's going on in their lives. So a lot of times for someone that could look like anxiety. The difference about my practice and where I sit in the marketplace. I know I've kind of gone on a little bit about Palladium Mind, but it's interesting because I'm coming back to this is what the book is about. As you can imagine, the book is called The Enjoyment Gap. It's called The Enjoyment Gap. Realize indestructible happiness and start savoring your success. And it's worded that way because when we have everything in our lives that looks perfect, when our lives actually are perfect by our standards, like we think that they're perfect, but when somebody can't feel the enjoyment or happiness from that, that's a really, really difficult, strange, confusing, isolating issue. And there's a lot of people that are experiencing this right now. And on the surface, we're very high functioning. Everything is in its proper place in our lives. We wouldn't change anything except for how we feel about it. And I can see your head nodding, Dom. What are you thinking or feeling about this?
Oh, there's a lot of thoughts coming in my head right now. Because it's like there's so many things you said before you even get into the expectation gap that popped up to me. It's like first, like sassy, like wait a second, there's a sassy version of Mandy. It's like I would have loved to see that version of Mandy because it's like that is not you presenting right now, and usually the way you present yourselves, I'm like, ooh, that would have been interesting to see right there, indeed.
It's so funny. I feel like it's so funny that your thoughts go there because I mean it's probably very vanilla compared to what attitude or sass that other people are bringing. Still like well I'm still military at heart in a way, you know what I mean? It's all relative.
That just means the relatives know better than the regular folks. That's what that. And the good news is the expectation. Oh, shoot. I was about to use one of the John Maxwell things. That's actually was going to be my magical point, the enjoyment gap. Because, funny enough, John Maxwell talks about the growth gaps in life listed, like the closest thing on there, which obviously there's the expectation gap, which is something totally different, obviously. And
Totally.
I'm
Yeah.
oh, I was like, oh, the enjoyment gap. And you're so right. Like, it's going to be interesting when folks get to read this book, when I get to fully dive into it myself and see what you bring out, because we're in
Mhm.
an interesting time right now where mental health is really one of the main things at the forefront, whether folks want to admit it or not, because on the surface, a lot of folks may have these veneers still, but there's
Yes.
a lot of folks are going through some stuff behind the scenes where heck,
Yes.
even actually even content creators, like there was a few
Mhm.
big YouTubers that decided to scale back their basically their production rate because basically it just caught up to them where it's like you're doing so much, you're putting your joy into things so much that you're really not having that same level of joy and happiness no
Mhm.
more. Where it's like, oh, let me scale back a bit so I can actually enjoy life because it's not enjoyable anymore.
Right. I definitely feel that. And, I even think a lot of times maybe it's just like where I'm directing my attention about this problem. But I don't tend to think of it so much personally as like people are like projecting one thing, but they're dealing with the other thing. I think that there's what I see, especially in the workplace, is people understand that there's a practical threshold for what types of conversations can actually practically be productive in a work relationship. So I'll tell you, a light bulb really went off for me. I was already 50% through with writing this book because the story is perennial. The issue is perennial to any context. But as I was, this is what I've helped people with over and over because people that can afford services and have access to care, they're already well to do. I mean, in Seattle, it's normal to live in a seven-figure house. You've got the house, you've got the multiple cars, the kids are sorted, everybody's going to college. And it's like we don't feel safe, but we've got stacks of money in the bank. Like, what's the remedy here? There's nothing left, nothing physical left is going to solve this problem, right? And so in 2022, we were awarded our first corporate contract as a company. And it was actually through a classmate of mine back at the Air Force Academy. He wanted my help
Ooh.
for his team. This was 20 years ago, this relationship began, and he knew what I was doing because of LinkedIn. And he said, Mandy, I got blind spots. I know my team brings their own blind spots. And then all of our blind spots interact at work. Like, could you help us with this? What would that look like? And I said, well, this is my first time working through not supporting a corporation, but through like more of a team level of support that still would be individual. My suggestion is we still do an individual strategy. So I stay in my area of expertise, which is working one to one, but I support your team outcomes. Does this sound aligned for you? And he was like, yeah, definitely. So I said, well, I've never delivered services in this structure before. We're going to figure it out together. He was like, got it. So we did that. It didn't take long, and it was just kind of about reshaping how the delivery happens, how the introductions happen, etc. And this was such a light bulb moment for me because I mean, I get goosebumps even now just repeating the story once again because this person is naturally, as an avatar, you could think, or a personality type, as an archetype, he's more concerned with shuttling resources to his team than he was focused on bringing resources to himself. This is a conversation that was vastly more natural, comfortable, and easy. There weren't obstacles to us securing that help for other people because he is a person who is a provider at heart. He wants to bring resources to others. So instead of us putting a microscope on him as a person, we were having a conversation about others, that he was bringing me to others. And then the corporation opened doors by removing certain barriers to entry around money and vetting or trust. So there was already a buy-in at an organizational level. Individuals could access care so much easier. Whereas if I had had the same five conversations with five different individuals off the street, I have those conversations every day. Not everybody's ready to make those types of leaps, but it was paradigm shifting for me. And so in 2024, that's really what we're doing. And when you start to think about the enjoyment gap, and I'm looking at supporting teams and leaders of teams to support their individuals, I think it's a really beautiful marriage of capabilities to actual needs that exist because when managers are feeling slightly uncomfortable to open up that Pandora's box to really go there with some of these issues that the employee and the leader or the manager knows there's something else going on for this person. Both people know it and they'd actually be very willing to address it, but that is not the right forum to address that problem. So, what's the usefulness of diving into it? You know what I mean? But if you had an expert in your back pocket that can actually drop in and support the person on the bench, get that person like fully into their potential, that's really where I found so much encouragement, even at a time where my business was evolving. I'm like, it's just the greater service. I think that's the greatest form out of service.
Ah,
What
so
are
I'm
your
talking
thoughts on
about
that?
it. Oh, there's a lot of thoughts indeed. Well, congrats on being able to really scale out like that indeed. definitely scale out indeed. So, did your past life as a certified yoga instructor play a role in basically spreading out your skills like that in the corporation?
I talk about that in the book, actually. It's like a whole part of the chapter. Are you really going to read my book, Dom?
Yeah.
I am so excited by that. You have no idea. I'm really excited. What can I do? Like, as far as your listeners, maybe because I know we're reaching like kind of our final third of the time period here. I'm thinking about something from the book that maybe I could share or teach. I know something that I think would be really valuable for someone to take away because would you like for me to share that for
Oh, share
listeners?
away.
Okay.
Share away.
So right up in the front of the book, I mean, chapter one, we're covering like, what is this problem really? Like, so we can actually be clear about what we're talking about. And what are the risks of not addressing it? What are the opportunities if we do? You know, I really love, chapter one is always going to be about laying the foundation, but right when we get into chapter two, I touch on how everybody that has this problem that we're kind of collectively confused about what do we do to solve it, right? Like my life looks perfect. It's like almost eye roll worthy, right? Anybody who is experiencing this type of pain, I also call it a mental type of pain because it's like, oh man, cry me a river. You got everything you wanted and you're still not happy. You know what I mean? Like it's so like that. We just don't really have, it's almost nonsensical to have compassion for it. It doesn't make any sense. My theory is that is a huge part of why this problem persists, is because we can't understand it. We literally can't understand it at all. And it actually doesn't make a ton of sense, but it's not a rational problem. If we could understand it, we could begin to solve it. And that's what chapter two is really about. Because what I've shared in chapter two, and I think quite honestly, I think chapter two is probably one of my favorite chapters of the whole book. I realized through helping people with this issue, actually helping them through it in very short periods of time, like less than 10 weeks, less than 10 hours worth of their time invested. Like it doesn't have to take a long time. You just have to address the right problem in the right way. Step one is understanding what is going on. And I realized after years of even helping people solve this problem that we don't have a model for it. That's why we don't see it. That's why we don't understand it. That's why we don't talk about or try to fix it, is because we don't have a model for it. And my clients, they would, in other words, often be asking, well, on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where we've got that little green pyramid at the top, the triangle at the top is called self-actualization. That's clearly on a hierarchy, on a pyramid. That's clearly the goal, right? We want to get to the top of any pyramid. So that's the goal. I guess I need self-actualization, and then this problem is going to go away. But they've got all the other levels checked. They've got love, they have physical safety. They have self-esteem. They even maybe have recognition at work. Their family loves them, right? They're not with a dearth of friendship or love, but what's missing and how do I get to that green triangle? That's what people are asking because we don't have a model that shows this problem. And this is the whole punchline. And this was probably the greatest discovery that I made while writing this book, that a hierarchy by definition, is a one-dimensional model because it delivers information along a single axis, a vertical axis. This problem is a two-dimensional problem because we have physical security and all of our needs met. All of the needs in the pyramid are met, but we don't feel happy about it. So we have tangible success or objective success, but intangible struggle. We need a two-dimensional model to even represent this problem. So that's what I did is we have a window model where there's an axis that's vertical that's about the objective or apparent success or failure or struggle. And there's a horizontal axis that will differentiate someone who doesn't have anything and is unhappy from someone who has everything going right but still can't feel the satisfaction. And that's what's needed to actually just represent the problem in the first place. And chapter 3 goes into what causes this problem, and I'll leave that as a little cliffhanger, so I don't share everything in the book. But this picture, the outcome of this, somebody who has intangible satisfaction regardless of whether their needs are met or they win or they lose, that's a level of what I realized is that's a level of internal realization. It's the realization or the attainment of what is available right in front of us. So that's like a little bit of a teaser. If you want to learn more about the model and see this problem and be able to help people who are struggling with it to understand exactly why it's happening and exactly how to change it and fix it, the book, the rest of the chapters 3 through 11 cover that in the greatest depth I could possibly do through a book.
Guys, I'm talking about these. I'm talking about these. That's right, indeed, y'all. Treat good enough to eat 10 times over, indeed. I wasn't joking, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Folks be like, yeah, it's 3 dimensions, y'all. Didn't you ever guess talk about 13 dimensions? Nah, fam, keeping it simple, baby. 2 dimensional problem. That's right, indeed. 2 dimensions, y'all. Just two. We're focusing on the twins that aren't really twins at the moment, y'all.
That's true. It's simple. It's two-dimensional. It's not 10-dimensional. It's not 8-dimensional. It's not 7-dimensional. It's just two-dimensional. But it's been confounding. I think if we
That's
could
right.
just understand it and see it, we'll be able to help each other out of it a lot quicker. So I hope that that's what people, you can tell I'm a little bit of a geek over the information. That I think much has got to be clear to anybody listening right now. But I guess that's my greatest takeaway is like I feel like if we could just understand what's truly going on here, suddenly we start to see some of these problems just fall away. And that's my hope. Because when more people are healthy and more people are happy within themselves, they're free to make the impact that they're aching to make in the first place. But when we're suffering with depression or chronic anxiety and these types of things, we're really just really struggling just to lick our own wounds. And as much as we want to be capable, et cetera, as much as we are capable, we can force it. It's really hard to make our greatest impact while we're suffering with these types of hidden pains. So, for anybody who's ever felt this way, I think you will really enjoy the journey of reading this book if you invest. And it is on Audible. And Dominic, I don't know if I shared this with you, but I'm the one that reads it. So the book is read from my voice. So I think that's like a really cool gift as I actually did intend to connect with the readers. I want to build that relationship. I'm really excited for it to be listened to.
Yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. We'll definitely have to do a part two indeed, because we caught up so much on the pre-call. It's like, oh crap, we lost a bunch of time for the actual record. So definitely to do a part two. So before you make a run forward, giving you the magical question every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you were 25 again, but you're still in the current year, what advice would you give to yourself?
Oh man, I would just wish for myself to really put into motion what it means, like really live out what it means to make myself happy. I don't know if that sounds selfish or whatever, but like just allow myself to place my own happiness first because yeah, I think that the because is important. Everybody is on their own journey and sometimes other people's journey is going to look different from ours, but they're on their journey to find their happiness too. And so you can't always wait for other people. You can't hold yourself back and wait behind, trying to bring everybody with you to your version of happiness or on your timeline. Just live in that present moment and Allow yourself to pursue what happiness looks like for you without any contingencies. And trust that that's in the highest interest of everybody.
There you go. The weed interest. Right about it. That's right indeed. That's right, the weed interest. I mean the highest interest, my bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. But yeah, it's not selfish really. It's like, hey, the thing is when you're in your peak performance of joy, peak state of joy and happiness, like folks are better to be around. We're in that state. If someone's all feeling negative and bad all the time, you want to avoid them like the plague. It's like, don't get that on me. Even most negative people try to avoid other negative people some of the time if they got a little common sense to
That is so true and funny. Never even thought of it like that. That's really interesting, Dong. Thank
them.
you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Beyond what I can even express verbally, I truly appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. And I'm really glad that we were able to catch back up again.
Heck yeah, we're just a couple of basketballs on the court. We're getting caught. And folks need to ball their way over to your magical site and wear some for those need to keep in contact with you and cop some copies of your magical book. What's the best way for folks to do so?
Yep. So the book is going to be live on Amazon. We don't have that pre-order link yet, but it's going to be on Amazon and on Audible as The Enjoyment Gap. From January 30th, it'll be available hopefully for the rest of time. And my website, so you can stay in touch with me, is palladiummind.com. Palladiummind.com. Or you can find us on Instagram at Palladium Mind. And my name is, I wear my maiden name as well. So it's Mandy, not hyphenated, Mandy Barbee Lanier. That's Barbee. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love that. Dom and I are connected on LinkedIn, so you'll see me as like a shared connection. Mandy with a Y, Barbee Lanier. And I'd love to connect with you.
If you're hearing this part of the episode, that means you're one cool individual. Thanks a bunch for tuning in, and if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to share it with at least one other person in your network. Bonus points for 3. And be sure to check out the backlog too while you're at it, because there are hundreds of wonderful episodes to choose from as well.